let's get started with kind of ugly. Let's start with our New York Giants, our local team, a team that is in a very, very interesting place. And by interesting, I mean terrible place. The Giants just lost 20-17 against the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, dropping the record to 2-6. And if you came into the season thinking, "Oh, the Giants lost but the Chiefs by 3 on Monday Night Football," I would have been like, "All right, that's fine. The Chiefs are the best, one of the best teams in the NFL." But the Chiefs are 4-4, and they do not look like a playoff team. And the Giants just looked atrocious, just sloppy football all around. So, like, there's just a bunch of penalties, a bunch of a near pick six by Daniel Jones later in the game, an early pick, and he took a couple sacks in that last drive. And there's a lot to complain about. But let's get started with a guy who I'm not very happy with. I'm extremely angry with, actually. I just think he's been a really big letdown. That is head coach Joe Judge. Joe Judge, if you think about Joe Judge, you hear, oh, he's such a great talker. He's talking about discipline, running laps in practice, working hard, instilling that defensive first, that aggressive run the ball down your throat, hog mollies, like that mindset. But Joe Judge just does not practice what he preaches. He calls timeouts at inopportune times, pretty much ruined our last drive, the Giants' last drive against the Chiefs, with having no timeouts, just put Daniel Jones in a terrible position. He punts on opposing teams' 39-yard lines against the Falcons. He plays soft. He coaches like a soft man. He coaches pretty much the opposite of how he talks.
Yeah, he's a very conservative coach, which
is not what I
think was definitely, it reached a breaking point, I think, in the Monday night game.
Right.
With, settling for field goals and
against the Chiefs, you can't do that.
Exactly.
Even as bad as the Chiefs have played this year, you cannot settle for field goals against Chiefs.
Yeah, because we know what that offense is capable
and especially with how weak that defense is, you have to go at the defense and just attack.
Again, I think it's time to bring him into question.
Right.
Because, he comes in here as Mr. Discipline. We're gonna hold our players accountable for our mistakes, and we're gonna work them into shape. And it's the same thing. The same thing keeps happening.
It's embarrassing.
What he's doing is not working.
Right. This is why, as a Giants fan, I'm never gonna trust the coach until he puts results on the field. Until they put results on the field, shows that they can win. But is it time to talk about moving on from Joe Judge? You said that you think it's time for him to be questioned.
I think it's time. I'm not saying that, definitely get rid of him because there's still, half a season left.
Right.
But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But ultimately, I was a huge Joe Judge guy after last season. Now I'm kind of not so sure about that anymore. My stance has kind of changed a little bit.
Oh, it's changed fully, and it's really annoying. I know it may be a little bit of an overreaction, but I was so annoyed. I'm so angry because, I thought, all right, Joe Judge is the answer. Last year coming up, the Giants went 6-10. I know, not a great record, but they were one game out of the NFC, out of the playoffs.
Down the stretch, they played really well.
They played well. They found the identity of a team. But last year, this is a Dak Prescott-less division. This is a whole different division now. You got Dak Prescott leading the Cowboys to a 6-1 record. They look like a top 5 team in the NFL. I know It's fun to joke around about the Cowboys, but they are for real.
The Giants just, you're obviously now you're not going to make the playoffs.
They're not making the playoffs. Their season's over.
You started so slow once again. Every year you seem to start off slow, and you're given a gift last year where your division was so bad that
you have the number on Dave Gettleman since his tenure began. How many has starts?
Yeah, so
it's not pretty, right?
For you. It's 2018 1-7.
Yep. Ugly.
2019 2-6.
Disgusting.
2020 1-7.
Oh my.
2021 2-6. So if you add all of those up in the first 8 games of each season, that is a 6-26 record.
Oh my god!
In the first
oh
8
my
games
god.
of every season.
I'm sick to my stomach. Okay, that's disgusting. Oh my god!
I'm sorry I had to bring it up, but it's something else.
It's something that we really have to talk about. I'm disgusted. As a football fan, how could you put together such a lifeless, pathetic product on the field week in, week out, and try to say the same stuff every single press conference, try to talk about, discipline, practice what you preach. They don't practice what they preach. They practice losing. There's a losing culture instilled in the New York Giants, and something has to change. I personally think, all right, let Joe Judge fill out the season, but I think the Giants, they have to move on from him this offseason before it gets too ugly.
The jury's still out. Who knows? The saving grace for Joe Judge is that incredibly banged up.
Oh yeah.
Like their offense has been
Yeah.
decimated by injuries.
Right.
And I mean, I'm sorry. Like I know, the common thing is, oh, don't use injuries as an excuse, but pretty much all your playmakers are
Right.
out. Kenny Galladay is not there. Saquon Barkley is not there.
Kadarius
Sterling
Toney's banged
Shepard is
up.
hurt again. Kadarius Toney keeps
Andrew
getting hurt. He was
Thomas.
off the field a lot last night.
Andrew Thomas
So
being hurt.
it's definitely a factor. Like
Right.
I'm sorry, but it is.
Oh, 100% is a factor. But if you want to look at another team that is in much worse shape than the Giants with injuries, the Baltimore Ravens they have 17 players on injured reserve out of 53 spots. Yeah, they had to replace 17 guys, including Ronnie Stanley, your franchise left tackle, who is a top 3 tackle in the NFL. He's been injured all year. He's out for, I think, the rest of the season. Your first 2 running backs, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and if you know anything about how that Ravens offense is, they run the ball down your throat. That run game is so important to that team. Lamar not having basically his best weapon out of the backfield, his 2 best weapons out of the backfield, that's brutal. And you look at that defense, like they lost Marcus Peters to a torn ACL early on.
Mm-hmm.
That team has been just banged up all year, yet they're 5-2, and they're playing competitive football, and I think they're a Super Bowl contender.
Well,
I don't like. I know, coach this, coach that. Joe Judge versus John Harbaugh. Harbaugh's an established
they're not in the
great
same
coach.
stratosphere.
Right? But injuries play a factor with every team, and Joe Judge should. I just don't know. Like, I just don't think he's the answer. Just in general, even if the guys are all healthy, I don't think he's the answer. I don't think he's a good enough tactical head coach, like a good enough coach to make in-game decisions to help us win football games and help the Giants win football games in the long term. I just don't think he's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly has a lot more to prove
Right.
if he's going to,
Stand the
call
test
him,
of time.
if he's going to be considered the coach of the future. He's got a long way to go in that regard. But
Right.
I mean, the Giants. It's another lost start.
It's another lost season.
The stupid mistakes. If you want to
it's
dive into the
embarrassing.
specifics of them,
Yep. go
Elijah
ahead.
Penny had
Go
a
ahead.
big run, and then that gets called back with a taunting penalty.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zimenez, he steps offside for a second. It takes away a Patrick Mahomes interception.
And even if we're not even talking about on defense and like that stuff, look at starting off. The Giants get the stop, pick off Patrick Mahomes in the end zone.
And then
Play
just
later. Right away throws an interception, gets the Chiefs back in the game. That's unacceptable, especially against a Chiefs team that, sure, as I've mentioned, as everybody knows, they've been struggling. They're not a good football team right now. But they have Patrick Mahomes playing quarterback. That guy is really good at football. I don't care how many picks he's thrown this year. He's a top 2 quarterback in the NFL. So it's ridiculous that the Giants are able to just make stupid mistakes week in, week out and not learn from their mistakes. Joe Judge preaches discipline. You mentioned 2 massive penalties that set the Giants back and ruined drives. That right there, it's ridiculous that it has to happen week in, week out.
I mean, look, if you were coming into this game, even now with the Chiefs struggling,
Right.
You had to have figured the Giants probably
They don't win that game, but the way they lost it was just pathetic.
Exactly, that's what I'm getting to.
Right.
They're just not going to take this one. But
Right.
the Chiefs, they really did everything they could to hand
the Giants the
that
win.
game.
They
had a lot of penalties, and they couldn't move the ball on offense because I think a lot of teams have kind of figured out how to stop the Chiefs.
Right. You play like a little soft zone.
And then you just play 2 guys up top.
You play 2 guys up top.
Just don't let Tyreek Hill run
Exactly.
past you.
Don't let Tyreek Hill run past you. You bracket Travis Kelce, and there's nobody else that can beat you. Clyde Edwards-Helaire hurt, and even if he was healthy, ineffective, not very good. They don't have Sammy Watkins anymore. Mecole Hardman's nothing special. Yeah, no, that Chiefs team is easily beatable, and the Giants just beat themselves. They shot themselves in the foot.
They absolutely did, and they continue to do it over
week
and over
in,
again.
Week out.
You want to bring up the Washington game again?
Oh God, go ahead.
If you want to talk about beating
fun.
yourselves, oh my goodness,
it's ridiculous, and
that's just one example. There's so many other ones. It's just this has been
right.
This is who the Giants are. This is who they've been for 5 years now. And
exactly.
Is there an end in sight? I don't know.
I don't think so. I really don't know. But speaking of that, 5 years going on. We've had Dave Gettleman for a little while. Mr. Gettleman decided to sit on his assets again at the trade deadline, even though there are so many assets that the Giants could just trade away. Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, even I'll get to it in a second. Saquon Barkley. I think even them, like, there are assets that you can trade away, and these are all guys that I love, besides Evan Ingram. But like, do you think it's? I don't even want to say, do you think he deserves another year? Because I don't think he does. I think he's got to get out of here. They have to. John Mara has to stand on his principles and fire Dave Gettleman.
I think the ship has sailed on Gettleman. You saw some life in the team last year where, they got hot at the end of the season, and you're thinking maybe this rebuild's working.
Exactly what I thought. We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok, led astray, and flat out deceived. I don't want to bring up Stephen A. every minute, but come on. This team has been, they lead us in, and then they just drop us on our heads, and just it's so deceiving to watch this team year in, year out.
Yeah.
Gettleman built a flawed roster. The Giants have $3 million in cap space, and there's no direction. There's no direction in this team.
A lot of the optimism from last year is just washed away.
Oh, it's gone.
And, you could say, okay, injuries, but not really, because this is what the Giants have been for every single year Dave Gettleman has been here. Nothing has changed.
If you want to bring up some injuries, just change the MetLife turf. The MetLife turf has been a massive part of ankle injuries, knee injuries, little stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's just a flawed product year in, year out.
Yeah, and the offensive line continues to be an issue. Granted, they've had injuries there too, but
Nate Solder should not be starting for an NFL team in the year 2021.
He
is a turnstile. He is a super nice guy. Gone through a ton in his personal life. Super nice guy. But the guy is literally a doorman at an apartment. Just come in, have fun. Edge rushers, come in, sack Daniel Jones. It's so frustrating to watch that week in, week out.
Yeah, to bring up a positive for the Giants, the defense has gotten better.
They've started. That's why I have not mentioned. This is why I haven't mentioned Patrick Graham. I think his job is safe.
Patrick Graham's been doing a great job.
I think he deserves another couple of years at the helm. He's been fantastic.
He drew some flaks of criticism after the first couple weeks when the defense wasn't really stopping anybody.
If we're being honest, I'm gonna bring this up right now. There was zero pass rush besides Azeez Ojulari and Leonard Williams coming into those weeks. Now that there's a little bit of a pass rush, the Giants look a little bit better. They look pretty decent.
The game plan on Monday night worked. It worked like a charm. To perfection.
Pretty much to perfection.
That's about as good as you can get. You're holding the Kansas City Chiefs to 20 points.
Right, and the offense is not the problem. Chiefs.
No,
they're a good
certainly
team.
Not.
Just they get a little too cute at times. Throw a couple stupid turnovers with Patrick Mahomes just throwing no-look passes, la land. But come on. That's a good Chiefs offense. A great Chiefs offense.
I would say it's a great Chiefs
offense. If someone would
say.
And
the Giants, they didn't look overmatched at all.
Really, they looked good.
Offensively, you're missing a lot of guys. The coaching's not really there, and just the overall talent, it's just missing.
It's another lost season for Daniel Jones, which kills me because I'm going to ask you: do you think he is the answer for the New York Giants at quarterback?
So I think there's still a lot of questions to be answered long term with Daniel Jones. I will tell you this though. I think he's played well enough to earn another season next year.
I agree.
He's definitely not getting replaced at the end of this season. They're not going to Sam Darnold.
There's nobody in this draft class that I like enough to replace him.
Right. And he's played do I say good?
He's played well.
Played well.
It's just that red zone offense is so pathetic.
The red zone offense.
It's so pathetic. So that's why he doesn't have that many touchdowns. And if you take out that one game against the Rams, which basically everybody on his team was hurt, and he's coming off a concussion. Why is he playing that game? I really don't know.
The doctors did clear him, but
the doctors cleared him, but I
don't know.
Half his team was dead, so I think it was a bad decision. But I think he gets another year. I think he deserves it. I think give him a healthy core and just a decent offensive line and a person who actually knows how to call play calls that are not 1985.
Oh yeah, we've been talking about
Jason
Joe
Garrett.
Judge, Patrick Graham. Let's talk about Jason Garrett.
Is oh my god. I listen. I'm not going to talk about him too much for the sake of my mental health, but he does not deserve a job in the NFL ever again. He's basically the Adam Gase of offensive coordinators.
It's just a lot of his play calls.
It's brutal.
It's just puzzling. You have a 4th and long at the end of the game, and you have two guys running routes to the line of scrimmage.
It's
what's the point of those? What's that going to do to you?
Yeah, but before I lose my mind about Jason Garrett, the Giants do play the Raiders on Sunday. The Raiders are in a weird place, but I don't think the Giants win that game.